think that a lot of folks are kind of familiar, if they've actually been paying attention to me at all, with how I do business. What I tend to do is I tend to get some idea in my head of something I want to talk about, write some notes up, and then talk from those notes to some degree, and then kind of go off and talk about what I've said in those notes. And I think I'm going to try and just read you the notes today and then talk about it. But before I do that, let me get through the administrative stuff. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Thursday, the 22nd of April of 2021. Thanks for joining me, whether on Rumble, on the podcast, or on YouTube. And the subject of today's little talk is going to be campaign finance reform. Now, let me go ahead without further ado and read you my notes. Just read you my notes so that you can see what I'm thinking about all of this, and it'll give you a starting place to jump off in this conversation. To begin with, it's not necessarily true that when one candidate outraises another, he or she will win the election, not even if it's by a substantial margin. But what's really important anyway is that campaign finance issues aren't the root cause of our problems. They're just not. The real problem, it's an uninformed electorate. Regardless whether people from the outside are meddling or dabbling in a given contest, if the people in a given area or district know what they want and what a given candidate stands for or doesn't, all the money in the world won't make things right or put a given candidate into office. That's pretty simple. Spin doctors are another matter. That's why the electorate must be informed. What people say should line up with what they do. You should be able to look at a given candidate and see that what they're saying lines up with what they're doing. You should be able to do that. Even a person who talks crazy isn't much of an issue if they do good. That was one of the silly things about people complaining about Donald Trump's tweets. Okay? They were complaining that he talked crazy and so forth. And my answer to that is, so what? The question is, what is he doing? All right, now to get on with my conversation, I've given you what I wrote down. Now let's get into what we're saying. I'm not saying that there are no issues with campaign finance reform. What I am telling you is who gets elected and who doesn't is partially based on that, without a doubt. But in reality, it's the person pulling the lever at that polling booth that makes the decision or comes to the conclusion about who they're going to vote for. If there's a primary, then it's who they vote for in the primary. And they don't know a lot of times who that might be. They know who they think might be a good choice, and that's generally what they're going to do. And my answer to that is, that's not acceptable. If you're not going to take the time to know who you're voting for, expect bad results. I'm not going to tell you don't vote. That's your choice. But I am going to tell you that if you do and you're voting for people who really aren't a good choice for a given office, you should expect the results that you get. It's not very complicated. I get that there are people raising millions and millions of dollars and putting tons and tons of advertising out there. You shouldn't care. Unless you can see that what people are saying is actually correct about a given candidate or against a given candidate, you shouldn't care that they're putting all of that stuff out there that says various things about that candidate. You shouldn't care. If you don't know who you're voting for, that's not those advertisers, that's not those campaign fundraisers, that's not their problem, that's not their issue, that's your problem. If you can't find information, maybe it's time to start making it possible for it to be more easily found. Maybe it's time for you to step up, or for somebody to step up and say, look, we've got a problem. We've got people who are running for office and we know virtually nothing about them. And there are going to be some people that's always going to be true for, and you're going to take the chance if you honestly can't find anybody who looks or sounds better. But the point is, in general, it's about an informed electorate. I don't believe reforming campaign financing is really an issue very much at all, unless you can shut someone out of an election by making it so that they can't do the things that they need to do. Unless you can do that, there's no problem, and that should be illegal. It should be illegal to keep somebody from becoming a candidate for a given office because you're able to goal keep and keep them out of actually getting into that office. Yeah, that should be illegal. when you start talking about the idea that people are running smear campaigns on whoever or whatever, guess what? That's not your problem. You shouldn't even be spending your time on that. Or if you do, what you should do is go, oh, look, they said this. Is this true? And if it's true, then it's one thing. But if it's not, then it's totally another, right? Doesn't matter what they say or how many times they say it. Saying a lie multiple times doesn't make it the truth. Don't allow yourself to react as people in the past have done, where they've allowed people to lie and lie and lie and lie, and finally they bought the lie. Don't do it. Learn who you're voting for, know who you're voting for, vote for who seems to you to be the best candidate for the office. I don't care if that's a Democrat. I don't care if it's a Republican. I don't care if it's a Libertarian. I don't care if it's somebody without a party and you can do that. I don't care. Are they the best person for the job? How do you know? How do you know? Oh, I saw campaign ads for them. I saw television talk about them. The question is, if they've been in office before or been in some sort of public life where you can actually look at them, what did they look like? That's the question. Stop worrying about campaign financing except where campaigns are able to shut people out of office by finding ways to be unscrupulous. If they're unscrupulous, I get it. But if they're just doing stupid, wrong advertising, yeah, it's sort of unscrupulous, I guess you could say. But the reality is people are going to do that. People are going to tell you things that are not true every day. Get used to it. It's how things work. So when it comes right down to it, I hate to say this, but for the most part, I really don't care about campaign finance and the reform of it, unless you're talking about people doing things that they shouldn't be doing otherwise. Having a gun doesn't make you a killer. Having a gun doesn't make you a killer. Being rich doesn't make you an evil individual. It's not how that works. There are people out there who are rich who spend a lot of their time trying to help other people to get into better places. And so if that's true for people in general, it should be true for campaign financing as well. I personally don't care if a person can raise $1 trillion. If they can raise $1 trillion and still be interested in going into politics, they're not very bright. Unless, either that or they're very, very much in touch with the idea that they want to do things for the people at large. Right? That's pretty much what that comes down to. Well, unless you see an opportunity to gain even more by being in power, of course, in which case then that person is in that boat. But the point is, if you can look at a person and say, this person shouldn't be in office, I don't care what the ads say, don't vote for them. And if you can look at a person and say, this person should be in office, and people smear them in various ways, you might look to see if the smears are real, but past that, don't pay them any attention. This is why campaign finance and campaign finance reform, for the most part, are not things of significance to me. An informed electorate is. Stop worrying about whether or not somebody gave somebody else $20,000 in campaign contributions and it was illegal. Start worrying about who the person you're looking at actually is and whether or not they ought to end up in public office somewhere. If you're not doing that, you're not doing anybody any favors. And I might remind you of something that a few people have said. What you do in your decisions to cause a person to get into a particular elected office or to fail to do so will affect your children and potentially even your grandchildren, depending on what those folks do when they get there. I want you to really be thinking about this and to really realize campaign finance reform, not so much of a fan of the idea. Not that it's always horrible. If you find somebody that's doing unscrupulous things, then deal with it. If you find somebody who's running smear ads, be informed so that you don't have to concern yourself with the fact that they did that particular thing. This is my position on campaign finance reform. For the most part, I don't have any care for it at all. It's not really sensible to worry about at all. All right, I need to go ahead and get done with this video now, so I'm going to go ahead and sign myself off. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Thursday, the 22nd of April, 2021. That means tomorrow will be Friday, the 23rd of April of 2021. Thank you for everybody who's come on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube to view my little video. Thank you for staying to the end. Remember, you can like it on YouTube. You can positive Rumble it on Rumble if you want to do that. Today's subject, as I say, was campaign finance reform, and tomorrow we're going to talk about illegal speech. That's what we're going to be talking about. So hopefully you're doing well today, and hopefully we will see you again on tomorrow's edition of the Daily Summation. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Thursday, April 22nd of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.